Want to learn how to get people to self-assess their ideas so you don't have to? Well, if you do, stick around. G'day, I'm Nils Vesk. You know, sorting and assessing other people's ideas is time-consuming, frustrating, and often a big waste of time, especially when you consider how few ideas submitted are focused on business growth innovation. But you know what? There's a better way to handle it. Hang around and I'll show you how. Now, like supermarket self-checkouts can get you to do their work for them, you can actually get people to do work for you by getting them to self-assess their ideas. Meaning you get to go home on time and only the best ideas come through. Oh, and there's going to be no more politics, no more resentment or a potential mutiny on your hands because it's all transparent. Now, businesses usually use one of three ways to assess ideas. One, they send all of the ideas to a committee to decide whether to proceed or ditch the idea. Two, they have one poor leader who's got to make the call. Or three, they get people to submit a form and create a 20-page business case on why the idea should proceed. Now, frankly, all three of these ways suck. They create resentment and they stifle any business growth innovation. Here's why. Committees are made up of busy people who get together to try to read between the lines and make sense of someone's idea on top of their already busy job. Now, while they're supposedly on the lookout for the next big idea, they're usually looking out for risk. Will saying yes to this idea cost me my job? Now, couple that with their time limitations, and you know what? Very few ideas will actually come out the other side, and not necessarily the best ideas either. Having one leader making the call is a tad faster than the committee, but still they actually have to have even more of a risk detection radar that's operating, because if the idea flops, it's the manager who approves it and whose head will roll first. And favoritism and bias really rear their ugly head in this one too, because usually the leader will favor their buddies. And you know what? Hate and resentment can start to build, and before you know it, a mutiny is on the cards. If it's not, and then it's going to happen, there'll be no participation for the next session. And the business case, the third one, is probably the most painful way of doing ideas, because chances are the person who's coming up with the idea doesn't have all the answers, you know what? And they're probably, not skilled enough to write a business case for something that hasn't been validated yet. So after page 2 or 3, they realize, you know what? They might look a little bit stupid if they don't get this right. And you know what? How much time will it take if I do the next 17 pages, and will it actually be worth anything in return for the effort? After all, if I'm spending all of this time just submitting an idea, how much work will it take to build it? So this leads to the person submitting the idea to just ditch it and get back to work as usual. So can you now see why we need a faster and fairer way to assess ideas? Okay, so here's the fix. You know, there are 3 criteria that you need people to consider when self-assessing their ideas. Used together, they'll both inform the idea creator and also the recipient of the assessed idea. They'll let them know how risky the project might be, how aligned the idea is to the business focus or strategy, and the potential for profits and the appetite of the market. Now, we've successfully helped create effective, simple, one-page idea assessment forms for various organisations and teams around the world, from hard-hitting R&D labs to local government or federal governments and admin teams. But, by the way, you can access all of our forms from our membership site, thereinventionclub.com. Now, if you can communicate your idea sorting criteria by being able to draw it on the back of the napkin, then you know that you're heading in exactly the right direction. So here's some criteria for you to consider for your idea assessment form. First thing is you want to make sure that there's a small space for someone to put their name, no brainer that one, but also on the top of the form so they can actually give a brief description of what their idea is. So you might want to say, your idea in a nutshell, and they fill it out. Who does the idea help? How does the idea help? What would be your next steps, and what support would you need, if any? So once they've got the basics of idea down, you want to get them to score their idea. And you can get them to score potential ideas out of 10 for these following 3 criteria. So tactical. Is this a problem that the market wants solved? You might want to think about how well does your idea respond to an insight? Is this a problem that the market wants solved, or is this idea a strategic fit for the business? Now, the better the fit and response, the higher the score. So the highest it would be 10 out of 10. So that's the tactical component. Next, we want to assess it for the technical component, and that is, do you, or does the team or the organisation have the technical skills to solve this? How many unknowns are there with this idea? Do you have the skills to solve them, or are they easy to find, or is it easy to find people who can do this cost effectively for you? So the less unknowns, the higher the score. The more unknowns, the lower the score. If there's 0 unknowns, 10 out of 10. And then we have financial. How deep are the market's pockets? And after all, we want to know if there's some money there. How big are the rewards versus risk? How deep are the pockets of this particular market, internationally or globally or nationally or locally? Again, the lower the risk and the higher the return, the higher the score, 10 out of 10. Now, if you're feeling fancy, you could get people to plot the idea score accordingly on the graph like the one I've shown here, or just simply add up all the scores to see how their total compares out of a perfect score of 30. So this score should help them to determine if they should submit it or not. Though obviously if they're getting 5 out of 30, they're probably thinking to themselves, not quite doing it. The beauty of this is it enables people to see what they've got to work on and what is working already. So that's it. You now know a proven way to create an idea assessment form that gets your people to do the work for you. It's going to reduce your workload, and it educates the idea submitter on what commercial innovation growth is all about. No more random ideas for a massage chair or espresso machine, just the ideas that will get you the results that you deserve. Oh, and say goodbye to the mutiny and say hello to a more cooperative, innovative team. Now, before I forget, did you know we've got a Business Growth Innovation membership that gives you access to the full in-depth technique with videos and flowcharts? Go to thereinventionclub.com so that you can become the one person known for creating business growth at minimal risk with minimal effort. I'd love to know how you go with this one, so please DM me, comment me, email me with your success stories or challenges if you have any. And if you like it, please say like and give us a subscribe, and hopefully we'll catch you again at our next session then. Cheers, bye.